what's up everybody? Jack here with DevSlopes.com. Welcome back to the Southern Command Center. And I'm kind of excited about this section. My buddy Johnny B is going to be teaching you guys how to make an Android client for our API. Now, with that said, the reason I'm jumping in here at the beginning is if you didn't go through the iOS section of the course, if you skipped over that and went straight to Android, we made a couple of adjustments to the API, and I just want to be sure that you've got your version of the API up to where it needs to be for this to work. So with that being said, let's go ahead and pull up our API here and see what we need to change. All right. So first thing we need to do is in the when we deployed to DigitalOcean, we changed our main route here from just /v1 to /API/v1. If you'll remember. So we need to make that change. And this code that I'm working on here is the last one that's available in the course. It's also available in the iOS and Android sections. But just in case you're building your own along and you don't download the source, I want to make sure that you add these things so that it will work with what we're doing here. So we need to add this API here. We also need to come to controller in our food truck. Now, we need to just lock down all the ones that are put, that actually write data. So, like right here, this is a GET request. We're going to take authenticate out of here. The next one here is a GET request, and we didn't put an authenticate in there. Here's a post. We need to add authenticate to the post calls. Here's a delete. It needs an authenticate in there. Let's see, this is a put. It needs an authenticate. This call right here is to add a review to a specific food truck. So we do need an authenticate here because it's a post method. And then this one is a get, so we don't have authenticate there. So that should take care of that. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now then, the other change we need to make, and this was pointed out to me, this isn't exactly critical, but the way we set up our, when we delete a truck, right here, we just call foodtruck.remove and just assume that that ID is going to be correct. If you pass in something besides an object ID, the server will actually crash. It'll throw up a warning on the console and crash. Now, if you're using PM2 or something, it will keep the server running. It's not exactly a big deal, but to be able to handle that, we can add some things to this code here to be able to handle that a little bit better. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, instead of doing food truck remove, we're going to start off with a foodtruck.findById. And then inside our findById, we're going to say request.params.id. And then we've got our other arrow function here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to start off doing is finding this truck by the ID that we pass in. And then I'm going to cut all the rest of this code in this call here and paste it inside this. And then we need to re-indent just a hair here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the truck by ID, and we're going to get back this food truck or not. So then we need to check, as usual here when we do this, we need to go ahead and check for an error. So we'll just say if error. Now for the response here, we're going to do response.status. And this is something we haven't really talked about. But, you know, usually we do the res.send or res.json or whatever. If we do response.status and put a number in here, that sends back that response code. So you know how we talked about getting back a 200 response or a 409 or whatever? In this event here, if we get an error, it's going to send back a 500, which is an internal server error. And then we're going to return out of this because we don't want to continue on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say if food truck is equal to null. So in our call here, in our find by ID, there's a possibility we could get an error and we could get a food truck. So if we do this find and there's no error, but we don't find a food truck, then food truck here is going to be null. And in that event, we're going to send a response back with a status 404, which means not found. And then we're going to chain on .send, and we're going to say food truck not found. And then we're going to return again to get out of this. Now at this point, if food truck is not null, we know that we've got a valid food truck ID. So we can continue on and remove the food truck. And that's pretty much the change we needed to make there. We can go ahead and in these other error calls, like right here, we could go ahead and put return a status here as well. And then return out of that. Now, if we get down to this last remove here, where we're removing the reviews, it's really not critical because this handles that in itself. We're not passing in something. And we really don't care. I mean, we're either going to remove some reviews or we're not. And it shouldn't crash the server. So we should be good to go there. So we'll just leave that alone. And we'll go ahead and save it. And then real quick, let me go back to our code here, that's where I'm at. So I'm going to fire up Mongo. And then I'm also going to try to run our server. And we've got an error. Oh. That's because I have deleted my node modules out of that folder. So we need to do npm run or npm install first. Okay, so we got our node modules installed. So let's go ahead and try again. npm run dev. And we just want to make sure here that the server fires up and we don't get a crash right off the bat. So we are running on 3005. We can pull up Postman real quick just to make sure. Okay, so we're getting back our food truck, so we should be good to go. So those are the changes that I wanted to show you, and like I said, I just wanted to make sure that if you skip over the iOS section and go straight to Android because you're an Android developer and don't care anything about iOS, that you get these changes up front. So anyway, looking forward to Johnny B's section on Android. I'm going to go through it myself. So I'll see you over there in the next video with him. Later.